Dom, your impressions too. Your impressions of Black Panther.
Well, as a person of color, I have. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
But this week, we got quite possibly what is considered the first big movie release of 2018, and we are spending the whole first hour talking about it. It is, of course, Marvel's Black Panther. Marvel's record-breaking Black Panther, if I do say so myself, made over $200 million over the course of this holiday weekend, so there's a good chance that you did see it, along with many, many others. But it is nice to have you with me. I'm joined by two lovely gentlemen right now. I got Joe Viso right now, my lovely co-host, and I got Dominic Guanzon, my show producer, joining us for the discussion. How are you gentlemen doing this morning?
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing pretty good.
We got big things to talk about today in Black Panther. Finally given, like I was just saying before, finally given something to talk about.
Oh my God, finally something competently made.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, finally, like the first, I was going to come right out and say it, finally the first really good movie of the year, in my opinion. Finally the first. It took a while, you know what I mean? Sometimes January surprises you get one or two things, but I mean, it has been really slow recently, slow to start in terms of something that's really good. But I don't want to give too much away too early. Joe, you're always so good at this. Why don't you give us a nice succinct plot synopsis of Black Panther?
Okay, so Black Panther picks up like a month or two after the events of Civil War. T'Challa, who is now the king of Wakanda, has to deal with his rise to the throne. He has to deal with his people looking up to him as they looked up to his father and carrying on his legacy. He deals with the nation's security. Should they let people into Wakanda? Should they let Wakanda actually be known? Because Wakanda is actually a hidden country to the rest of the world due to the fact that they have vibranium, which is the strongest substance on Earth. And so they have to make a decision whether or not to share it with the rest of the nation or not. Meanwhile, while that's going on, he's dealing with security issues such as a terrorist known as Claw coming in and stealing vibranium, as well as somebody who wants the throne for themselves.
Perfect synopsis right there. So, like I said, there's a lot to talk about with this movie. That's why we're devoting the full hour to it. There's quite a bit to talk about. There's no shortage of content in here. Black Panther, directed by Ryan Coogler. This is only Coogler's third movie, but he has made an impression on 3 movies.
What a rise for him, though.
What are his other 2 movies?
His first movie, okay, I'll briefly break this down. His first movie was called Fruitvale Station. I don't know if either of you saw it, which I loved. That movie was my personal favorite of 2013 when it came out. That was my favorite movie of the year. Fruitvale Station was Michael B. Jordan. That was about the story of the shooting death of Oscar Grant. And that was really good. And quite a few people did see it. I can't say that nobody saw that. Quite a few people did see it and really liked it. So Fruitvale
It got a lot of word of mouth when it came out on home video.
Yes, it did. I was going to say.
That's how I found out
you
about
did
it.
See, you did see it,
Yeah.
though?
And that one, Canes?
That didn't win, I don't think, any big award. I don't think that one.
I don't think it got nominated for
Oh,
anything.
It didn't
just
get
kidding.
nominated for anything. No, that was just it was a very big success though. On the audience level, I know that it was. It did win the top prize at Sundance. That's what I think.
Sundance,
That's what I
okay.
think you might be thinking of.
His next film, though.
His next film was Creed.
Yeah.
That he directed Creed.
Okay.
Yes, with
Michael
Michael
B.
B.
Jordan.
I love that movie.
I did
that was
too.
Good.
And it's funny, and we'll talk more about this with the box office thing, but it's funny because a lot of people are calling. I've seen a couple headlines. They always use that phrase whenever a young director, because Ryan Coogler is pretty young. He's only 31. They always use it whenever a new director rises. They say, "Is he the next Spielberg?" You know what I mean? That's like a big compliment. Josh Trank, who directed Chronicle and Fantastic Four, he was at one point dubbed the next Spielberg.
And he also had Michael B. Jordan.
And he also had Michael B. Jordan. And then there was the other one, M. Night Shyamalan, of course, after Sixth Sense was dubbed the next Spielberg.
Yeah.
You know what's funny with Ryan Coogler? I'll just say this, is that, and I can't even take credit for this thought as being original. Mike D'Angelo, the film critic, said this. He said it's kind of a depressing thing, though, when you think about it. He says Ryan Coogler's being called the next Spielberg, but his 2 breakout hits were the 7th installment / spinoff of a franchise, and now, which was Creed, and now the 18th entry in a cinematic universe, which is now, of course, Black Panther. So he said, he's like, in partly that's, you could even blame that on Spielberg too, in a way, that like that's how a young director, that's what's considered a young director's rise now, is making
being handled these like big projects,
franchise
like this.
movies.
Yeah.
That's what people want. You know what I mean? It's not even the chance to direct. I mean, of course, you want the chance to direct your own thing, but it's like now to get into the business, it's like you want a property now. It's not just like, you know what I mean, to make your own. But we could talk more about that next hour. We got a lot bigger bigger things to talk about. Where do you guys want to take this? There's a lot of ways that we could take, and I'm kind of putting you two on the spot. What do you want to talk about?
I'll start off with this. One thing, and this is kind of like a slap in the face to DC, is that this film, compared to most other Marvel films, has a more serious tone this time around.
Absolutely.
Compared to like Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man, and Guardians, which I would consider just comedies, honestly, in the Marvel universe. Maybe not Spider-Man too much, but the others, I would very much consider them comedies. This time around, the comedy only comes really through character interaction in this movie. That's about it. There's no like big punchline, big setup for a joke or anything, or physical humor. No, it just comes through characters interacting with one another, which is something I really appreciated about this film, because next film is going to be Infinity War, which is kind of like looking like it's going to be a big, serious movie, since it's going to be involving all the characters, as well as the destruction of Earth. So I think this is a good stepping stone just to that, at least.
Hopefully. I hope it doesn't go back. I hope it's not like
Age of Ultron?
Well, yeah. Well, I was just going to say, like, I hope this is not Marvel's Wonder Woman, because, like, the reason I say Marvel's Wonder Woman is obviously not because of, like, the representation and stuff like that, but I'm saying it's Marvel's Wonder Woman because we get something that's really good and really different.
Yeah.
And then the next step is going to be, like, the next step for after Wonder Woman and DC was Justice League, and Justice League was a big step back. I don't want to see Avengers Infinity War be that step back again, because, I mean, it seems almost too perfect. Bigger scale, uneasy expectations, a lot largely set by the predecessor, Age of Ultron. You know what I mean? So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I can't be too much, because this, like you said, though, the humor, one of my biggest critiques with Marvel movies is the quips always seem forced, like
especially
the
with
banter.
Doctor Strange.
Yes, especially. Doctor Strange had a chance to, like, have this kind of a tone, and it blew it, I think.
I think people really felt that with the last Star Wars movie, which I know is a different franchise, but it's all under the same umbrella.
That is a
company.
Totally valid.
Yeah,
totally valid.
Especially after Last Jedi, where it really felt out of place, where it's like, we should be feeling a little more serious here, guys. But then, like, those jokes just kind of hit you in the face rather than actually hit.
Cracking a joke in the opening dramatic, sequence.
A terrible opening. This movie is like, when something dramatic happens, they don't turn away from it by having a punchline follow it up. No, they let it play out until the next scene. Yeah, like, it's so nice to finally get that. And then, like I said, it's just like a slap to DC, because it's like, you don't have to make movies like Marvel. You can make serious movies. You just got to make them well done. You got to make the characters believable, and the script has to be done very well too.
Yeah, tip of the cap to Coogler, who's a co-writer of this, along with Joe Robert Cole, because they do really tackle the issues with the weight I think that they deserve. And I mean, like you said, the humor, I think if anything, the humor mainly comes from the female characters a bit. Shuri is the one played by Letitia Wright,
the sibling of T'Challa.
Yeah, who's that, I'm not gonna lie.
Still, she almost stole the show for me.
She did. I'm telling you right now, and Nakia too, who is Lupita Nyong'o's character. I'm not gonna lie though. It's not usually me to laugh a lot at a Marvel quip, but man, that "what are those" line, that was hilarious.
That I gotta admit though, that one made me kind of cringe a bit.
I laughed at that. You know what I mean?
I like the
joke. I love that.
Follow-up joke about the sneakers though right after that.
Yes.
What is that? What is that from? What are those? What is that from?
It's a vine of like a guy who's at a what it is. It's in reference to like somebody's odd or weird sneakers. It came from a vine. It came from a vine when it was standing in like a street, and this guy said, "Excuse me, officer, can I ask you a question?" And then he puts his camera on like the Dockers or whatever, the Rockports, wherever they were. And he's like, "Officer, can I ask you a question? What are those?"
And to be fair,
it's funny.
Both that cop and T'Challa were wearing very ugly shoes at that time.
Yes.
Okay. See,
I always thought it was like a '90s commercial until a few months ago when I actually found the source. I thought it was like some '90s Jordans commercial. What are those? In reference to the shoes.
I didn't get that at all. I just thought she was like just exclaiming, "Hey, what are those?" Like I just thought the delivery was funny.
That to me was like kind of like the issue with it. It's like, that joke's a bit outdated now, and not many people probably knew about it.
Drake even used that line in one of his songs. He would say, he's like, "I'm looking at the first week numbers, like, what are those?" That's funny, man. But I can't lie, I did laugh a lot at that.
Going off of that, out of my favorite character interactions come between them. They have really good chemistry. You buy them as brother and sister. It's like, oh my god, them as siblings. I can't wait to see them like in a sequel.
Yeah, not Shuri only that, and T'Challa.
I'm looking forward to Shuri and Tony Stark being in the same scene with one another.
Oh, really? those two are gonna mutilate.
It's like
each
stuff
other.
like that. It's like this is why I love having the cinematic universe as good as it is.
Yes, because she even, in a lot of ways, too, she's a lot like Tony Stark, too. I mean, there's no denying that, especially the way she's positioned in this. You know what I mean? And she's not positioned as, like, a novice Tony Stark. She's positioned as an equal, which is really good too. You know what I mean? Because there's no, especially during like the sequence too with the remote control car. You know what I mean? When T'Challa's on top of a car and it's being controlled in Shuri's laboratory too. I mean, there's a lot of moments in that loan to her craft too.
Going up
as
to
a
that,
character.
I mean, for me, all the side characters in this I thought were really well done, honestly.
I did too.
Like, to me, all the side characters, just like, I found them to be more interesting than T'Challa sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I loved his lover played by, what's her name?
Lupita Nyong'o?
Yeah, Lupita Nyong'o. His mother, she was like a typical, like, strong, royalty mother. And like we said with the sister, her too, and just even other characters. Like we have Get Out, the actor from Get
Daniel
Out.
Kaluuya.
Yeah, like, he's just he's worrying about Wakanda's security. And then we get to Michael B. Jordan, who, for me personally, as of right now, he may be my favorite Marvel villain at this point.
And you know what? This is the thing. Like the other person you mentioned too, I was gonna say Angela Bassett plays their mother, plays T'Challa and Shuri's mother, and then
his personal guard.
Yes,
Danya. I cannot pronounce her last name.
Michonne from The Walking Dead.
Michonne from The Walking Dead.
Danya Guerrera, I think.
There we go, yeah.
Maybe, yes.
They're all great, too.
And then, I mean, you also have, too, I mean, this is an ensemble cast. You also have Forrest Whitaker as, like, a statesman.
Yeah.
And then you have Andy Serkis, too, as the arms dealer in the Claw, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a stacked cast to begin with.
And even Martin Freeman's character, returning from Civil War, who I felt like was underused in that movie. I didn't really get a feel for him.
Ross, yeah.
I don't even know if underused, just kind of there.
It was just kind of there. Here, it's like, oh, okay. Now I finally get a feel for him. I know who he is as a character.
Yeah, there's so many good personalities in this thing, and you did bring up. Well, we'll address it later on. You did bring up one of my only criticisms of the film too, which I will address later on. But I mean, I have no problem singing the praises because there are a lot to be sung. Dom, your impressions too. Your impressions of Black Panther.
Well, as a person of color, I have. Look, I'm Asian. Like I'm like in the middle of all these like racial relations. But no. First and foremost, I think it's important to always note, just as we did with Get Out and other movies, Steve Pulaski here is of the lighter skin tone. Joe Viso is of the darker skin tone. However, he's from southern Italy. Yes. His family hails from Sicilian. Got that boo going. And we're
on the boot.
Yeah, there you go.
Boot.
Yeah. And I'm Filipino, so like none of us are African American. However, we're gonna
glad we established that. We had to get that out of the way. Disclaimer.
Yeah, we really should. I'm trying to look at this objectively as possible. It's funny because Steve, that you mentioned kind of Wonder Woman as well as I think just other movies it was kind of alluding to. This felt a lot. There was like a whole like legit spy sequence in the middle of this movie, as well as a lot of not illusions, but a lot of parallels to Wonder Woman, which is like, hey, hidden country that like is comprised of like a whole demographic, and like, but they're extremely advanced, untouched by the world. And you have this royalty with superpowers that's like gonna try and go out and connect with that world. It's like, okay,
there's got a moral dilemma at the center or on their hands to begin with as they assume the throne.
Yeah, and it's just really funny how this is better.
Yes, it really is. Honestly,
I agree.
And it's funny because Wonder Woman is like the best DC movie so far, which
Marvel,
sucks.
The following year just knocks out a park.
Yeah,
with a similar thing.
A very similar formula. I mean, Wonder Woman, and like I said, Wonder Woman's good. But but Wonder Woman has issues. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
I mean, like now I think it's been out for it's going to be shockingly be out for almost a year. We can kind of go back. I was even saying it before. We can kind of go back and look at it. But Black Panther, I would not argue Black Panther's got a couple issues, but I think Black Panther is better. Yeah. I definitely do. I think it's a better world. I think it's a better world. I think it's a better world that's better built.
I was sold this world way better than I was Diana's world.
Both movies even start with like, here is the ancient story of civilization, and it's like all animated and stuff. But like the side characters in Black Panther are way more engaging compared to the side characters in Wonder Woman, which is just Native American stereotype, Turkish stereotype.
White guy.
Yeah, white
Irish.
guy. I don't know. Yeah, Irish was the Irish. I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
It was like basically Chris Pine and Gal Gadot's characters were probably the best characters throughout the movie.
right.
Well, yeah, that's
and
the
that was
thing.
that was really good chemistry.
And
I
it really
liked
was,
that.
yeah.
Wonder Woman did what it needed to do and make its lead hero and make its heroine great, its titular character great. But Black Panther creates this world and then populates it with so many interesting characters. I mean, you feel like this is a lived-in world, and that's what I think. I mean, that's what I think is so special about this movie.
With how all these characters work and fight for Wakanda, which is the country that
Yes.
Black Panther hails from, and rules
Fictional
over.
country.
Fictional
Oh, yes,
country.
we got to make that clear.
Because apparently people didn't get the memo.
What are you going to tell me next? Gotham Metropolis isn't real?
Yeah. Wakanda is, like I said, it's a fictional East African country in the film too that like sort of positions itself to the rest of the world as being like, well, one of the many third world countries.
Made by a fictitious material too, by the way. Like,
Yes,
nobody really
vibranium.
thought this was real, guys. Come on.
That's the thing. I think a lot of people, seeing the state, especially with the horrible tragedy in Florida this weekend, I think a lot of people were trying to book their flights to Wakanda this weekend, which I cannot blame them.
Country made by two white people.
Yeah, really.
Stanley and Jack Kirby.
Yeah, really, them two of all people. Me, Steve Pulaski, Joe Viso, and Dominic Guanzon are talking Black Panther. Again, a lot to get into with this Black Panther. That's why I'm kind of letting you guys kind of tell me where you want to take this. I know Joe brought up a point that I really want to address too, and I totally agree. Michael B. Jordan in this film, who plays Killmonger in this. We were talking about this. You made the claim that you said this is probably your favorite Marvel villain.
Yes.
And honestly, I could agree. This was the first time, at least in a long time, that I found that a villain was sound and substantive in a Marvel movie.
And the thing is like, he kind of reminds me of why I like the Vulture, and I wish the Vulture was explored in this more, is that he has a very reason as to why he's a villain. Even though I don't agree, and I think he's a sociopath, I understand where he's coming from. And to me, when you can make a villain where it's like, I understand where they're coming from, but they need to be stopped, you've made a great villain.
Yes, I really agree with that.
I think what makes Killmonger such a great villain is that you really people can actually relate to his struggle and his motives.
Yeah.
Even though he's legitimately an evil person, people can relate to it. Unlike Loki or the Guardians of the Galaxy
Or
villains.
like evil and just an an abstraction of evil
Yeah.
too. Just like the typical motives and stuff.
What makes Loki a great
Positioned from the
villain
start.
for a lot of people is Tom Hiddleston's character. I mean, Tom Hiddleston's performance.
Sure.
Along with some of the other villains that we've had. Michael Keaton did a great job with the Vulture, but the Vulture was also, I think, written pretty good as well.
He was written well, and there were twists in there.
And Keaton's a veteran too,
Yeah.
so if anybody can bring that to life.
Here, it's both. The writing is just very well done here, and it makes the character believable. You understand where he's coming from, and Michael B. Jordan just takes that material and excels.
That relating to his motives in terms of just that social upheaval, that anger that everyone's feeling right now, and just kind of an outlet for exactly disillusionment with the system and how it's just been that way for decades, particularly for African Americans, and just to see that play out in just one person and try to just push the envelope and just try to make something happen out of that, even if it's the wrong thing to do. People, I think, a part of everyone that can relate to that, can see how he can do that. Can see how he can come close to doing what he's doing.
Yeah, and can we talk about too? I've said it before. I think Michael B. Jordan's one of the best actors working today. I think that guy is.
I agree.
The hardest working, at the very least, the hardest working.
I think he's 5 years. I'll tell you right now. I made this claim back in 2013, so I got to hold myself to it. I said in 2013, after watching Fruitvale Station, I said he's going to win an Oscar in the next 10 years, and I still stand by that.
He's on the road to it. Honestly,
I still stand by it. I mean, another person that's along with him too, who's very similar. They acted together too. Is Miles Teller. He is great. Michael B. Jordan. They were in fantastic, and I think that he is great. Michael B. Jordan, and I think that he's such a great actor, and this time he can honestly give a really good villain performance because he's usually the protagonist in all of his movies. He's usually the protagonist. Fruitvale, he was obviously the main character. Creed, obviously main character. This time around, it was so cool to see him in the villain role, and you could tell he'd been wanting to play a villain for a while, because the way he owned it in a lot of his scenes. So I think he gave the best performance in the movie. I really do.
I agree.
I think that not far behind him, though, I would say are Lupita Nyong'o and Letitia Wright.
Didn't Lupita Nyong'o win Best Supporting Actress?
She did. For 12 Years a Slave, she did.
Yeah.
Yes. But Lupita Nyong'o and Letitia Wright. The only thing is, like I said, I know Michael B. Jordan and Lupita Nyong'o. I know they're great actors. Lupita Nyong'o, I mean, her character definitely felt, in line kind of with what she's done. You know what I mean? Not to take away anything. Michael B. Jordan definitely did something different, though, for him, which I like. But not far behind, I would say, Nyong'o and Letitia Wright. And, of course, Dania Guerrera, too. I think they're three characters, because they're not only the three female characters here, not only are they interwoven to the plot so nicely, but they're developed too.
Yeah,
and I think they're given a lot of and they're given
and you
good
understand where they stand on the whole issue. Should Wakanda help the rest of the world?
Yeah.
You get a feel for each one of them.
Yeah, because the important thing about this whole Wakanda debate, though, is that it's whether or not. We're not going to get into this debate, you know what I mean, as a political thing too. But I mean, one of the main themes in this movie, one of the most significant, is whether or not resource-rich societies have any kind of like moral or ethical obligation to share their riches with other countries in efforts to make a more like unified world. That's sort of the debate that kind of ranges on here. It reminded me a little bit of like Captain America: Civil War in a way, where it was like there's one big moral quandary at the center of this movie, and then they show characters that are all on the different spectrum. Civil War, I think, was a bit more bipartisan with the way that it handled that. But it's not to say that Black Panther isn't, But you do get by the end of the movie, you do get a good solid feel of where the characters in this movie stand, on what Wakanda's role in the larger world should be, which I think is really important.
And speaking of actors, shout out to Chadwick Boseman for single-handedly playing some of the most iconic African Americans. Or sorry, not African Americans, but just I guess Black people in general. Just single-handedly kind of owning Black History Month in terms
Jackie
of
Robinson.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and the Black Panther.
Yeah, really. Now, here's the. I'm going to say one of my points of criticism with this movie. Okay, I'm going to say this right now. One of my points of criticism with this, one of my very few. I'll tell you right now. By the end of this movie, and it's because there's so much that goes on through this, Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, can't forget the other co-writer here, they put a lot in this movie, too. I even argue by the end they're starting to get into Black Panther 2 a little bit. I'd even argue by the end, especially with the relationship between Daniel Kaluuya's character and Lupita Nyong'o's character as well. I think there's a plot of that I think you probably could have tabled for the second film and really fleshed that out. But I'm going to say this, though. One of my few criticisms is I still think by the end of this movie, I still think that T'Challa is a bit of an enigma, or at least you don't really get a sense of his character outside of him assuming the throne and outside of what that title brings. I don't think he's as fleshed out as some of the supporting characters in this movie.
Yeah, I think with what many people are saying is, I found everyone else more exciting than the Black Panther himself, which is funny because the movie's called Black Panther, and it does kind of take that. The narrative kind of takes that approach where it's going with T'Challa rather than looking at T'Challa.
Yeah,
it's really strung that way. Joe?
I agree somewhat, because it's like I care about the character. I like the whole thing following him throughout this whole struggle of him trying to find his place, what he wants to do with the country and everything, and dealing with this whole attack on his country from Claw and then eventually Killmonger. It's like I rooted for him and everything, but I agree with you guys. Compared to everybody else, you don't really get to know more about him. It was kind of like we got introduced to him in Civil War, and then we have this movie now, and it's like we didn't really learn too much more about him. He's likable. He's a great hero. It's someone to look up to, of course, but you don't really learn anything more about him in his own movie.
And exactly. Compared to all the attention each other Marvel movie gets on all of its titular characters, Black Panther really spread it out amongst its world. Almost even Wakanda, you could say, is just a character in itself. Just that concept and how everyone's working towards it in some way.
Usually in these Marvel movies, like for the character's first movie, their origin stories, you emerge with at least a sound perspective on the main character, on the main hero. And I think that was, it caught me by surprise that it felt lessened here. And I hate to say this too, but like Boseman is an actor, Chadwick Boseman is an actor. He's not a bad actor, but I can't help but feel that even in those movies that we just mentioned, 42 when he played Jackie Robinson, Get On Up with James, when he played James Brown, which I feel like nobody saw or remembered. 42 differently, but like I don't think anybody really saw Get On Up.
It got me to watch some original James Brown footage.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's fantastic.
No, I rented the greatest hits of James Brown after I watched that. But the thing is with Chadwick Boseman, I feel like even in starring roles, sometimes he kind of gets relegated to the background at some moments, even in his bigger movies. There's something about him where it's like, he always seems to be one up by the supporting players. I don't know if he's had a hard time kind of establishing his own identity on screen.
Yeah, ironically enough, is that he's so good at playing other people, he can't do something. He can't make himself a character.
You know what I'm saying, though? I don't think I'm the only one on this. Whenever I see Boseman in a title role, it's not that he's a bad actor, but I always feel like there's always something that's going to overshadow him. In 42, I think it was the larger history and the other baseball players in that film that had good supporting roles. And I think in Get On Up, it was the music and the choreography.
Great job.
Yeah. He just felt like he was kind of lost at times.
He does a great job, though. It's not like he's not bad.
Yeah, this isn't any detraction on him. It's everything else around him.
I just feel like he gets one upped a lot, and here too. I mean, you have like Michael B. Jordan, you have Lupita Nyong'o, you even have Daniel Kaluuya, who you could make the argument he's underused here. You got these bigger players that I just feel like they make more of an impact, and then it's the fact that T'Challa, you learn about him largely through the role of him assuming the throne. That's what I think kind of works against him, at least in that sense, especially for this first movie, especially for this first effort.
I think he works better also because like I remember in Civil War he was like one of the people that stole the show for me along with like Spider-Man and Ant-Man.
He was good at that.
It was like the time he was on screen I was like, wow, I cannot wait to see Black Panther and learn more about him. And it's like I saw Black Panther and it's like I didn't really learn more about him, but I still like him.
It's true. Yeah, he doesn't do anything to make him seem unlikable, but he does. Yeah. But there's just enough. There's enough lacking here where it's like, man, I really want to know more about him.
You really do.
And I hope in the sequel, I hope in this next movie, I hope you really do kind of get a firmer grasp on him as a character and whatnot. That was one of my very few points of contention here.
I want to kind of switch gears a little bit,
sure.
Shifting towards some of the music in this movie, which
I bought the soundtrack, by the way.
Yeah, you straight up bought the soundtrack.
I bought it. I wanted to buy it.
It's like right after I saw Greatest Showman, I went out and got it. I rented this one. I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah, talk about the soundtrack though. It's very noteworthy.
Yeah, I should say with films I usually tend to look towards more of the the original soundtrack as opposed to songs used in the movie, kind of like popular music, how it's used in movies.
Like Guardians, volume.
Sure, mix. Exactly. Which is cool. You can make a couple comments there, but there's really not much you can say in terms of actual creation as opposed to just we kind of mix this together. And I heard in terms of the soundtrack used in the movie, what were some tracks that they used in there? I think I heard like Kendrick Lamar made an appearance.
Pray For Me, which featured The Weeknd and Kendrick Lamar, which was played in the casino scene. That's probably my favorite song on the album. All the Stars, which had Kendrick and RZA. I might be pronouncing that wrong.
I think it's SZA.
SZA, yeah, okay. X, which is like one of my favorite songs. There's a song that that one is about Black Panther. Then there's a song about Killmonger. It's like
you got a great roster.
Yeah, you got Kendrick Lamar does a great job.
Sway Lee from Ray Shremmer. This is where my hip hop knowledge comes in, contemporary hip hop knowledge. Sway Lee and Khalid are on a track as well. Vince Staples, Weeknd, like
Vince Staples, yeah.
Vince Staples is on one too. Now I'll tell you right now, I'll probably start a fight over here. I really think I'm a firm believer. I think Kendrick Lamar is very overrated. Okay,
overrated.
I think he's very overrated. Okay, I think he's very overrated as a rapper. I don't think he's bad. I think he's overrated. But I'm gonna say this: he was the right person to choose for the bulk of the soundtrack. He was absolutely the right person. I'm not gonna say he's not talented. All I'm saying is I can name like there was at least 12 better albums than Damn last year. Okay, there was at least 12 better.
Right, so before a fight breaks out in the studio, I'm also gonna shift now to the original.
Yeah, go on.
The OST.
Them's fighting words.
Which is, and I just really appreciate how there are some really good like motifs for all of these characters. Like every time
yeah.
Killmonger showed up, you got this like dark trap music going.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what is going on
like this
here?
future
Yeah.
kind of like
Afrocentric too.
Yeah.
And then whenever
Yeah, the drum kicks in it too. Yeah.
whenever I'm sorry, Michonne from The Walking Dead. I'm so sorry.
Danya Guerrero.
That's the thing. There's a video on by Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
You go on there and you could see Ryan Coogler breaks down the fight scene in the casino, and he makes a point that when it transitions to her character during the fight scene, you purposely start hearing the drums whenever her and
Or
her,
like the- like
tribe is showing
See, that,
up.
Or
that's the
the
kind of stuff
yo-
makes me want to go back and want to rewatch it again.
Yeah.
or like I don't want to say yodeling, but it's like do, do,
It's like a battle cry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
yeah,
so,
there, the battle
it
cry.
transitions into the original
War cry.
soundtrack perfectly.
Yeah, and it shows up again when she fights again later
Yeah.
in the movie, and it's like,
It's
hey,
not
we're-
jarring at all. It's very smooth.
yeah, and there's some of these overt, musical motifs and themes I really enjoy, and every now and then a movie tries to do more obvious and overt themes and hints and whatever, and then it just winds up being like overwrought. But it's like, okay, we get it, too much on the nose.
We get it, yes.
But and there's a fine line between that and then too subtle, where it's overproduced and it's all hidden. And even like don't get me wrong, John Williams, literally the greatest, movie composer of the 20th century, and you can even say beyond, iconic stuff. But some of his other work, there's a lot of subtlety in it that can be almost too subtle. And it's like, well, okay, what was really the theme there? It's and that's more of his later works, more like in Lincoln or some other lesser known movies where he wasn't working with Spielberg. But here in this movie, do you know who did the original?
Who did the original
score?
The
here?
original score for Black Panther was done by, oh god, this name. It's one of those composers.
We are horrible with names in this movie.
Yeah, we are. Ludwig Göransson. I probably butchered
Close
that.
enough.
Ludwig Göransson. He's a Swedish composer. He's actually done all of Coogler's movies in the past. He did Creed. He did Fruitvale Station. He did that wonderful Jesse Eisenberg movie, 30 Minutes or Less.
Keep looking through movies. Keep looking through movies that he did. Did he do? This is just a complete shot in the dark. Did he do Sicario?
Did he do Sicario?
That may be another like.
No, I could have. He did not. I could have told you. I could have told you that because I know that the person who does a lot of Denis Villeneuve's movies, he usually comes aboard for most of his.
Because I know Sicario had a really like jarring.
No, Sicario
soundtrack.
was Johan Johannesson, who just died.
Oh, he died?
Yeah, Johan Johannesson.
Oh,
he
that
just died.
sucks.
He was supposed to work on Blade Runner, but he died, right?
Yeah, well, he died.
Oh, he was sick.
He did. Whatchamacallit? He was sick. I don't know if he was sick during it or whatnot. Yeah, they used Hans Zimmer for Blade
Yeah.
Runner.
Man.
He literally just died. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Sicario,
the composer.
I'm sorry, I just learned about that just now. So sorry if this is like complete 180 from Black Panther talk. But man, look up if you're talking like good OSTs, like look at the bridge scene.
Oh
in
my God,
Sicario,
yeah.
where it's like, and it's like just these like. I don't know, 20 horns or something. I don't know what it is. Just bearing down on this film, and it's so good.
Johannesson was such a talent. That was probably the best thing in Sicario. I think was the music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the best thing in the music. But with Black Panther,
Yeah.
I really think that the soundtrack of this, like I said, we're talking. You could talk the OST, and you can even talk the actual music and stuff in this too. I mean, the soundtrack in this is great on both levels. It intensifies things. It does pretty much what you want a soundtrack to do, especially the way, like you were talking about one of the key introduction scenes in the battle scene too. The way that it is interwoven together. It feels smooth. It doesn't feel jarring in any way, like it could have. Because it's used for character introductions.
Real quick, going back to we were just talking about the casino scene briefly.
Yeah.
That becomes like that whole scene and like the scenes leading up to that. As you were saying, it kind of reminds you of a spy film. And
yeah,
honestly,
where did that come from?
I honestly, thinking back to it, it's like, wow, they somehow got like a whole spy film to fit in Black Panther, and it didn't fit. I mean, it didn't feel out of place at all for me.
I'm still a lone defender, but I mean, this is cheap, but compare it to the casino scene in Last Jedi, just in the way that felt in the narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like this, I mean, this did not feel jarring at all. It
No.
felt, and because you're right, it switches tone there. It becomes more espionage in a way.
Yeah, and it transitions perfectly fine.
I mean, it does. I mean, I could only imagine like some of the skepticism, like from the people working on it, maybe on the page. But I mean, the way they get it to flow and it adds to the narrative, it doesn't feel like a diversion or anything.
It's funny because when Black Panther's sister starts introducing all these gadgets, and I'm like,
It's Q.
This is feeling a lot like Q from James Bond. We're in a casino. It's they're fighting and they're on a spy. What?
Car chase.
Yeah, there's a car chase. Like, what's going on here?
I mean, for anybody who thinks that like Idris Elba, like a black James Bond could never work, this movie just is a perfect example. Like it could work.
Absolutely.
Idris Elba, the smoothest man in Hollywood right now, or like coming out of Britain at least.
I love it.
Oh,
That's the only thing I think in casting wise this movie missed was.
Well, he's already in 4. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Unless if they want
to
I didn't even know.
To play because he's like a refined British gentleman. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I don't think he can. I don't think he could have played that youthful side of Black Panther.
Oh no,
I think he's meaning like a side.
I think it meant like a side character.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Hell
no,
yeah.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say because you have like Forrest Whitaker in here, who's like 56. I was thinking like a Forrest Whitaker kind of character.
Who's going full Forrest Whitaker in this movie?
Yeah, he's very.
I wonder if Idris Elba's honestly so mad. He's like, I should have held out for Marvel longer.
Just like I said, I hate to say this, but one of my favorite rappers, Montana of 300, always says, "Don't think too hard about this." And then I lay low like Forrest Whitaker. Think about that. Anyway, I love Forrest Whitaker. He's a tremendous talent, and I think he's used very well here because he kind of brings that like nobility, age, legacy side to Wakanda that it needs. I think let's talk about before we even. I don't want to lose this. Let's talk about how gorgeous Wakanda looks in this thing.
God, yes.
The visual effects, which are very diverse here. They use green screen. There's practical effects. There's CGI. There's like I said, there's computer generated landscapes and stuff. Mm-hmm. I say 95% of this thing looks really good.
There's that, and there's also, it comes in the climax of the battle. Some of the CGI looks really bad, honestly, even from Marvel.
Yeah, there are some.
And like when Black Panther's like moving around really fast, you could tell like it was kind of the problem I had with Spider-Man: Homecoming as well. The suit looked faked during those moments where he's moving very quickly, like jumping from the first floor to the second floor, like jumping across a battlefield.
I was getting some Green Lantern flashbacks where they just animated that.
You went that far. Wow.
Yeah. Like maybe not that bad, but it's approaching that, or even like prequel level, where the whole Star Wars prequel level, where it's just like saturated in CGI.
Yeah,
and you can tell. That's the key, is that you can tell.
It's pretty bad for Marvel standards, and I don't know if it's because they got their best special effects workers
for
right now
Infinity
working on Infinity War, because they're like, that movie's gonna take place in space. We need that to look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I still think, by and large, the visuals here are good.
Oh yeah, Wakanda itself looks beautiful.
Yeah,
and the production team, the production team really did their homework. There's a lot of like kind of mini documentaries or like behind the scenes stuff where the production company really did their homework in terms of like going back to going to Africa and like straight up looking at tribes, looking at tribal headwear, looking at cultural references throughout most of architecture even, and how wardrobe architecture even, and how because Africa is such a diverse continent. Like Egypt
culturally diverse.
Exactly. Egypt is in Africa. Like people forget that. Yeah, South Africa is like also has like straight up white people as well. Yeah. Nigeria is completely different from Morocco, which is
different from Chad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean? And like even Black Panther alludes to that as well with its various tribes. It's got the mountain people, it's got the mining people,
and each one of them looks very distinctly.
Very distinct.
The clothing or just like how their tribe is, like just very distinctively different from Chadwick Boseman's tribe.
The tribe with the discs in their lips.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, okay.
Which happens a few moments jarring. But I mean, and I'm not going to pretend I'm the most culturally, versed person in the room, or even, you know what I mean, to begin with. But I think that there's undoubtedly, especially in America, very ethnocentric mindsets and stuff like that. That there are people that just think of Africa as just sort of like, this one continent,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Predominantly black, probably, you know what I mean? In that continent, there's real diversity in that continent. There's real diversity. There's diversity within even communities too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think it's portrayed here. It's not portrayed like with Puff. you know what I mean, to kind of bloat the movie up and, you know, make it look, you know what I mean, make it look a certain way, just for the sake of that. I think that you could tell there's a lot of respect given here, and there's a lot of attention to detail, like you said. They actually did their homework. I can't believe it, but we're already at that time right now. We got to start giving final thoughts. We got to start giving final...
man, really?
You know,
we got to start giving final thoughts.
I think
Have to just be the rest of the show.
Let's do it. Let's do it, though. We'll start with Joe. Give your final thoughts on Black Panther overall as a movie.
Okay, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It has been made clear throughout the entire review. I think all of us did. It's a great return to the MCU. It's a great return to the character of Black Panther. Even though we talked about it, we didn't get to learn more about him, but we got to learn about his world, and we were sold on that, and it was amazing. I love all the side characters in this movie, especially his sister and Michael B. Jordan's character, Killmonger. I think he was the best villain they've had so far in the Marvel Universe, and he's the best character in the film. I love the look of the film. My critiques, though, come from the climax of this movie. One, I feel like it becomes the typical comic book climax, and then two, the CGI doesn't look great. There's a Han Solo moment in here where a character says, I'm not going to help you. And then, of course, he shows up in the end. Like, you know, it becomes very cliched in the climax. My other criticism is I kind of felt like the first 20 minutes were a bit slow. It was building up itself. It was like getting started. And then finally, once they got into Wakanda and we started getting to see the gadgets, the tribes, is when the film really started to pick up for me. Other than that, though, I really like this movie a lot. I look at this as kind of like the Captain America movies, where back like the first movie's outing I liked a lot, and I can't wait to return back to the character. Where like I think they can take it with the sequel job with Captain America, with Winter Soldier and Civil War, and do a tremendous job with them compared to the first one. I think you could do the same thing with Black Panther, where you sold me this world so really good and these characters. I can't wait to see where it goes in the future. But with those critiques, we didn't get to learn about Black Panther too much. Climax was a bit cliche for me, and I thought it had a slow start. For me, it's about 3 stars, but it is a very enthusiastic 3 stars out of 4.
I'm going to have to piggyback on a lot of stuff you just said. I'll go here, and then, of course, I don't want to leave out Dominic because he's got some thoughts, too. I can see him brewing. I really agree with what you said. Black Panther movie, even as, in my opinion, is still very much a Marvel movie, even as different as it is. I mean, it's different, but it's still very much a Marvel movie. It's marked by a lot of CGI, like we said, kind of at the tail end. Some of it looks amazing. Other instances, it shows how artificial it is. It still ends with that big battle sequence too. And I even said towards the end, it starts to feel like it's getting into Black Panther 2 a little bit by the ending of it, especially when it comes between like W'Kabi and Nakia and that relationship too. I think that there's instances that they probably could have tabled until the second film. Having said that, though, we get a really good sense of the world here. We get a really good sense of Wakanda. We get a really good sense of the ensemble cast that's in this film as well. That's very good. It's dense. It's layered. It feels authentic. It feels lived in, which I think is really important here. You have an outstanding Michael B. Jordan. You have a great supporting cast of strong Black women in this movie too. Lupita Nyong'o, like I said, Danya Guerrera as well, and then of course Letitia Wright from Black Mirror. There's a lot of good characters in here too. I wish we learned more about T'Challa. I wish Chadwick Boseman felt like a bit more of a presence here than he does. I think he's kind of sometimes, sidelined by the strength of the supporting cast. But I think overall, there's very little to complain about Black Panther that does any kind of significant damage to the fact that this is very enjoyable. It is very exhilarating at times, and there's a lot of good to come out of this talent-wise, visual. I give it a very. We're talking about music as well. I'm gonna go with your rating as well. I give it a very enthusiastic 3 out of 4 stars. Dominic, that leaves you. Your thoughts on Black Panther?
I was talking with a friend who also saw the movie over the weekend. We saw it in separate viewings, and I was like, "Hey, man, what do you think about it?" And he was like, "It sucks because what were the stakes in that movie in terms of characters, specifically characters? I mean, obviously, the Wakanda is always in danger. We knew that. The world's always in danger. That's always going to happen in a Marvel movie, in a superhero movie of this caliber.
Ethical dilemma. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But what are the stakes in terms of? So, spoiler alert. Of Black Panther, is he okay? So, spoiler alert: Black Panther lives in this movie, which should become that's.
If you saw the trailer
for Infinity War, he's gonna live. Exactly. Okay, what were the stakes in Guardians of the Galaxy 2? like, oh, the world is in danger of like literally being, or like the universe is in danger of being consumed by this by this
too
god.
bad later this year we're getting Homecoming and Thor.
Yeah. So it's like, exactly. So the stakes are always kind of which is such an incredibly high level, like either a protagonist death, like straight up name of the movie, protagonist death, or the universe or the world is in danger of being just completely wiped out. And it's like, well, if you just keep if it's like that is constantly your the danger, but it never comes to that. It's either all or nothing. Of course, we're not gonna lose that much.
Which side note, if I can just add this in real quick, it's what makes me appreciate Civil War's ending, because it's not about saving the whole world. It's an end to a friendship, and it makes that really impactful.
True, and it has some
That carries weight.
I didn't even think about that. That's especially true, and it has some more character focus. My friend went to The Dark Knight, and how it's like, okay, in Dark Knight Rises, Gotham is literally
Got a nuke.
It's got a nuke, right? So it's like that's the stake, and you can kind of they're not gonna nuke Gotham, of course not. But in Dark Knight, it's who's in. Well, lots of people are in danger. Don't get me wrong, but is the city itself in danger? Are there like high profile? He gonna be safe up in here? Batman is gonna be safe, but is he gonna be safe up in here? Like in his
mind.
psyche, in his mind, break.
There's a mental battle.
Yeah, exactly. It's this character fight. Like, is the Joker gonna break Batman? Is he gonna break other characters? And you really don't know.
Yeah.
And on a first viewing, you
going
don't know.
off of that climax, I mean, you have him like, there's a bomb on the prisoner boat and there's a bomb on the civilian boat, and the detonator is given to both sides, and the Joker's like, let's play a game.
And the movie has built itself in a way where it's like, I really felt one of those boats could have exploded, and a lesson could have been learned there, or a lesson could have been taught. So, but then you going back to Black Panther, where in this kind of really bad CGI setting, like it's this one-on-one fight between the protagonist and the antagonist.
Yeah.
Which is like, really, I'm going back to Star Wars prequels level here, or like Green Lantern. It is soaked in CGI. It is not looking good. And anyway, I'm starting to over harp now, where I go overboard. But yeah, so that's really what brings me back to giving it like a 4-star rating or a 3.5-star rating. So I not to piggyback off you guys, but I'll also give it 3 out of 4 stars, which is funny.
It's better.
I also gave one back on it,
And you said this is better.
but this is better.
Yeah.
But like I don't think ratings are concrete in that way. So you can give movies same ratings while also judging them differently.
No,
So-
I would absolutely agree with that. We're gonna switch gears right now, though. We are going to talk about Black Panther's unbelievable opening weekend. Again, there's a good chance that you've seen it. There's a good chance that you have watched the film. So if you did, you contributed to a historic box office weekend. Numbers are courtesy of Forbes.com. Scott Mendelson, the great Scott Mendelson, who I feel like is a co-host on this show sometimes with all the knowledge he provides via his articles. There's quite a few things I'm going to break down here. Now, I'm not going to go through all the records, because I'm telling you right now that there are a lot of them. He published a big, almost, I think, over 1,000-word article on Black Panther, but I'm going to break down a couple big ones, okay, for Black Panther. It's got the biggest February opening weekend, okay, which was previously held by Deadpool.
Yeah.
It was previously held by Deadpool. Now it belongs to Black Panther. It is the biggest non-sequel opening weekend. It is also the biggest solo superhero launch of all time. It opened above the 174 million opening weekend mark of Iron Man 3. So it is now the biggest solo superhero launch.
I was checking that out too, honestly, over the weekend. I was like, I wonder if this one's the biggest one we've had. And it is.
It's funny. It's almost like if you make movies starring minorities will want to come out and see it.
That's blasphemy.
We can't think like that. We can't think like that. You know what I mean? Anyway, biggest Friday to Sunday opening weekend for a long weekend, of course. So debut. Biggest long holiday opening weekend, of course. So which a lot of your competition at that point was Transformers movies too, because they would open over like 4th of July weekend and stuff. Biggest opening weekend forever for any movie not directed by a white guy. So that's funny to think about too. Biggest grossing movie in North America by a black filmmaker. Previous was F. Gary Gray with Fate of the Furious, and then biggest pre-summer opening weekend, which I think is a big one as well, which I think is a big one as well. And then Joe, going back to what you were even saying too, biggest Monday gross.
Yeah.
40 million on a Monday.
Wow.
That's the 99th biggest single day gross of all time.
All those kids were like, we got the day off. Let's just go see Black Panther again.
Yeah, that's true.
I make the argument too that of course I think a lot of people have seen, but I think a lot of Mondays were second viewings.
Yeah, no, I want to go see it again
second.
Monday. Honestly, with Movie Pass, I was like, I might as well just go and.
Did you use it the first time or did you?
No, I had to buy my ticket.
You bought
my
it?
theater. If I didn't do that, I would have never got at least a good seat. The whole front row was the only empty row left.
Really?
That's what happened with me.
And it was the big, huge movie theater.
Yeah,
for
it was
me.
about 2/3 full when I saw it on when I saw it Friday morning. It was about 2/3 full. You know,
I saw it Thursday night.
You saw it Thursday,
yeah.
of course, yeah. So that makes sense. You wouldn't want to gamble with that. No, I'll tell you right now. Not to change the subject. I got my full month's worth of Movie Pass this week, seeing 3 movies. So I got my full month's worth in this. But we got to talk about this Black Panther box office though. What do we make of this? So total it wound up being just from the if we want the 4-day stats or the 3-day stats. What do you want?
3 days that's 202, and then.
Yeah.
Just add the 40 with the 4-day.
Yeah, 204. So we'll do 4-day. 242 million though for Black Panther, which is an average of $60,000 over 4,000 theaters. So that's incredible. I mean, it's very hard to kind of break it down in any bigger sense. You know what I mean? But like Don was even saying too, you know, can we finally put that myth to bed that like movies with minorities, with either female characters, African American characters, people of color, they don't sell.
And if I may add this, if you look at this thing I'm about to show Steve, if you make good movies, you can make a great opening weekend compared to mediocre films. Because I'm looking at this photo right now, Black Panther opened up to 240 million. It opened with that. Justice League, as of right now, worldwide has only made 228 million.
Wow.
Now, wow, is that
For the record, though,
that's a stark difference.
Black Panther has like this. It feels like a landmark kind of cultural thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to Justice League, where it's like, well, they're just doing an Avengers. You know.
True, it is a big team up movie, like, you know, and everything compared to like, you know, Black Panther, which is a cultural thing. But still, I mean,
That
it's
should have
like,
been so much bigger.
It should have been so much bigger. It's a team up movie. Like it should, like, you know, Black Panther opening up to this is amazing. But the fact that Justice League it didn't even reach this point yet with this box office, that's embarrassing.
You know what's funny? To bring that up though, I'm glad you brought that up because I just looked up last weekend. Justice League grossed 657 million worldwide, and its break even point was 750 million. Ooh. So it is officially
wait, what?
It's officially a bomb. On a budget, it's one of the most expensive movies of all time at $300 million. Okay, follow these numbers. It grossed 657 million worldwide. Its break-even point was about 100 million more than that. Its break-even point. They lost money on it. That's the state we're at. And I mean, they were complaining too that Man of Steel was and Batman vs Superman, where they weren't bombs, but they underperformed. Like Batman vs Superman, they were mad because it didn't cross $1 billion. This didn't even come near what Batman vs Superman made.
Man,
and now you're really seeing. I mean, people are saying like, you know, DC movies are still gonna like superhero fans are still gonna show up. They didn't with this.
No.
And they didn't go see it again. They didn't go out and see it again. And before you know it, it was December and it was almost out of theaters.
A lot of my friends were like, I'll see it eventually. And it just left the theaters because it didn't make money. And then when it came out on Blu-ray and like, you know, home video, they still haven't checked it out, honestly, just because of word of mouth, like, wasn't really like ecstatic about it.
It's funny because the people that got pissed off the most with DC movies were the fans.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
like,
wearing a Batman hat, and then movie disappointed me.
Yeah, seriously. So like,
you heard it here first.
You have no loyal fan base, honestly, or well, you do, but it's nowhere near what it should be for something of the like. DC seriously, it's just like what? But
it's brutal.
Personally, it's like DC was a huge chunk of my childhood, especially with the animated series, Batman the animated series, Superman
Justice
the animated
League
series,
animated series,
exactly, Unlimited as well.
Cartoon Network had a lot of those movies.
Marvel, like the X-Men cartoon, like the old '80s X-Men cartoon, sucked in my opinion. Like I didn't like it. I thought the quality.
I
was
would
poor.
even say like I liked it as a kid, but watching it now, like the '90s,
yeah, it does not hold up.
It does not hold up
compared to like I could watch Batman. I was watching Batman the animated series.
I got Batman the animated series Volume 1 for Christmas because that's how good it is. days. And you should think that you have enough good source material there that holds up today.
Or something like that. Or like, you know what I mean? It's not like you're working off of like chapbooks or something like that. Or like, you know what I mean? Or like pulp novels. You're not working off this.
You're working with some of the most iconic characters in comic books. 3 of the most iconic ones, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And like you only did a good job with one of them.
Yeah,
and then you get Marvel with Black Panther, something not a lot of people even knew about, and you knock it out of the park.
I wanted to say this too, because this was a big piece of news I think we overlooked back in December. There are now, according to Business Insider, there are no immediate plans for Zack Snyder to direct the Justice League sequel or any other DC films at this time. There's no plans for him.
There's an article bouncing around that he got fired too,
and also the production staff at Warner Brothers got reshuffled. A lot of people lost their jobs after this. So I mean, after Justice League bomb, because that's what it did. Now we can call it a bomb because it did. I mean, it did not even come close to breaking even.
Superman. I'll even leave with this.
I hate to direct this more to Justice League, but I think there's a big parallel here that is very significant. It's not. This is
a Marvel. Black Panther is a Marvel not a standalone, but like it is an origin movie. It's not a big team up. So it's like the fact that is blasting Justice League out of the water. Wonder Woman is like officially a symbol of the UN, or like she is like the ambassador for women. Superman represents America way more, in my opinion, like abroad. For the longest time, Superman represented America way more than Captain America, just culturally speaking, just in terms of exposure and whatever, and like people like recognizing
exposure, more movies, better movies.
Batman is like one of the greatest, superheroes of all time, obviously, and it was buoyed by Christopher Nolan's films. How do you mess that up? You know, how you are
being lazy with it. I mean, that's at the end of the day, we can all agree that they rushed it. They absolutely did. They tried playing catch up, and it bit them.
Yeah, and what we're talking, of course, with like higher up execs and like just more.
The Justice League and
this is nothing on like the directors or I mean like they made bad products like Zack Snyder with Batman.
But I don't think they were not given I don't think they were given very comfortable environments in which to work. I also think too, they were liberating environments in which to work, and I also think too. I mean, this Justice League was exactly and so far what most of the DC extended universe is. It's what happens when you make superhero movies in boardrooms. You know what I mean? That's what I really think.
Honestly, I really do feel like this is I mean, obviously, as you said, Zack Snyder is at fault here because he could not execute well. No. But this really is of executives more than anything.
Yes.
You're right. Of like an of executives more than anything.
Yes.
Who wanted a piece of the pie. Yeah.
It's like what I say with kid movies too. I mean, you could tell that like there's like the Emoji Movie was definitely not made in the same way.
Sony just sat there rubbing their hands.
Paddington
money.
2. You know what I mean? Like
Peter Rabbit.
Yeah, which I can't even judge because I haven't seen.
Okay.
But like you really get that vibe though. Now here's the thing. I don't want to be alarmist though and say that like all these DC products have been canceled. I want to take this for a second here. Aquaman's still coming out at the end of this year. It's still coming out at the end of this year.
I gotta say something about that though. That is coming out at a terrible time. It's coming out December 21st.
Yes.
That's coming out the same day as Bumblebee, the Transformer movie. And then 4 days later.
No, wait, that's a thing?
That's a thing.
We're going to talk about it later. I just remembered that.
We're going to talk about it later.
We're going to talk about that later in the show. Joe's got
It's coming out the solo Bumblebee movie. As well as 4 days later, we get the holiday movies with Mary Poppins Returns from Disney. And then all these other like...
Mary Poppins Returns? What?
Yes. So, like, for me, Aquaman's coming out at a bad time. It had an earlier release date. I don't know why
you heard
pushed
it here.
it back.
I'll tell you right now, you heard it here from Mrs. Mary Poppins is going to be this Christmas's, like, Jumanji-esque movie that's going to make a lot of money.
Too Mary, Too Poppins. Like,
Too Mary, Too Poppins.
Or...
God. What? The whole point is she leaves. What?
Now she returns.
Now she's coming back. Well, we also got a Shazam movie coming out in 2019 from DC, and then we got Wonder Woman 2, which is about the only thing I think to really get excited for.
Still no Batman.
No Batman. There's no Batman movie coming out.
Yeah, he's already gotten...
Isn't it odd?
Oh, boy.
Lantern Corpse, and there's no Batman. I'm just saying, isn't it odd?
Oh, boy.
Here's the other movies that are coming out near Aquaman. Alita, Battle Angel, and then the Bohemian Rhapsody, the Freddie Mercury biopic. That's what Aquaman's going up against, like literally within the same day or the next like 4 days.
God,
there's going to be so much
That's going to be a box office just failure because there's so many other movies out there that like are dividing
They're
audiences.
gonna have to split some of those up. There's gonna be some that, because you know what they're also doing too. Some of those, like the Freddie Mercury movie, Mary Poppins too. They're also fighting to get Oscar time too. I think they're trying to fight to get in there for the nominations and stuff. They're gonna have to split that up. You know, they're studios. You know what they're doing right now? I bet they're playing chicken.
John C. Reilly comedy coming out the same day as Aquaman called Will Ferrell, and a John C. Reilly comedy coming out the same day as Aquaman called Holmes and Watson. It's a parody of Sherlock Holmes and
Which
Watson.
I've been waiting for a while. That's I think gonna be pretty funny.
So
And
it's like that.
I'm kind of excited for that.
That date, like, you know, with DC, it's like, do you want to play chicken? Do you really want to take this chance with now?
I don't know what the Thanksgiving landscape looks like, but they should probably move up to around or like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Aquaman, they should probably move that because I'll tell you right now, man, they cannot be optimistic.
There's no
about
Marvel
Aquaman
movies after July.
Yeah,
Ant-Man and the Wasp is the last one. So you got the rest of, like, you know, after July, you're clear for Marvel, comic book movies.
Why don't you try like October then or something?
Oh, wait, on.
You know?
November, X-Men Dark Phoenix, never mind.
Oh, never mind. Well, that's why they're not going to try November then either. So they're in a tight spot too. I don't know what you do with that.
I'm going to make a prediction here. After Infinity War comes out, we're going to see like I think the American populace, I don't know about China, kind of sick. The American populace is kind of going to be kind of sick of superhero movies because it's like
I don't know.
Saying that.
We've been saying that for years.
The optimist in me is
saying that, and yet Marvel puts out something that everybody goes,
See, the thing is, you know, I used to kind of halfway believe superhero fatigue would kick in, but right now we just had a movie about a hero that very few people knew even what his location was, where he lived a year ago. It just made $242 million. These aren't going anywhere. I do not
and
see
the other
that.
February release
Maybe
with
everything
the character
outside of
Deadpool.
Marvel isn't going to make a lot of money, or maybe it's gonna falter. I think DC's in big trouble now too, but I don't see this. I don't see a drop off point.
Claim that after Infinity War, I'm gonna stake a claim that completely uninformed claim that we're gonna see profits kind of dip for these movies and these grosses. I will also say
I love you. I can't buy into that though. I love you. I cannot buy into that though. Not with the empirical evidence that's been placed before me.
It's true.
I can't. You know.
It's true.
I mean, like even
we'll see. We don't have much longer to wait.
Yeah.
Like Scott Mendelson, we started with this. We'll end with this. Scott Mendelson said today too. He said his opening headline with Black Panther. He said this over the weekend when it came out and said it made $200 million over 3 days.
Yeah.
He said Black Panther superhero fatigued its way to $200 million in 3 days. You know. So I understand that we keep waiting for like trends to die. Like I've been waiting for Funko Pops to go out of style for like 2 years now. We keep waiting for trends to die, but it's not. I don't think there's a real end in sight. You know, I really don't. I think DC's quality dip, or I think DC's financial dip, has nothing to do with people tired of superheroes. I think that's nothing. I think that is totally a quality issue. I think that's quality issue. I think that's optics issue. I think that's a totally separate issue.